So here's a crazy thing. Almost everyone I know agrees that the government of the United States, the government of the most powerful nation on the face of the earth, is completely broken. And for most of us, it's really obvious why. Lobbyists write our laws, politicians are bought, and corruption is infecting every issue that's close to our hearts. But what's even crazier is that we've all convinced ourselves that there's nothing we can do about it. And that is one of the biggest and most dangerous lies in American politics. The problem isn't that corrupt politicians are breaking the law. The problem is that we don't even have laws for them to break. Right now, corruption is legal in America. And that is something we can fix. Here's exactly how.
The one-time super lobbyist and traveling companion of former House Republican leader Tom DeLay pleaded guilty today to charges related to congressional bribes, and he agreed to cooperate with prosecutors.
Jack Abramoff's guilty plea to charges of tax evasion, conspiracy, and fraud could spell trouble for some of Washington's top power brokers, including more than a dozen members of Congress. Bilking Indian tribes of more than $60 million, keeping nearly half of it in kickbacks.
My name is Akira Nabila binti Sulaiman.
Hi, my name is Aina Najwa binti Syadan.
Hi, I am Putri Nurdayana Natasha binti Muhammad Ali.
Lobbyists play a big role in American politics. They get bills passed, politicians elected, and national program funded. But according to Gallup poll, only 5% of America trust these lobbies. So how is it that these politically influential groups is also one of the least trustworthy? Let's take a look at what lobby actually is. The National Conference of State Legislatures defines lobbying as a citizen's right to speak freely, to impact on decisions and petitions of government. This is actually a big business carried out by professionals who registered with government and are paid by third party on behalf of their lobby. Abramoff pleaded guilty to a variety of criminal charges from his lobbying activities on behalf of his client, Native American tribes. I personally think that the tactic of Abramoff to lobby their clients is at fault. This is because he and his co-conspirator, Michael Scanlon, has scammed their clients and twisted their words by donating that amount of money to schools, charities, and any other purposes. This simply indicates the Islamic proverb of the end justifies the means. The thing is, the way he lobbied is wrong according to Justice Card and also Islamic perspective. However, the blame is not to be put on Abramoff alone. This is because Abramoff has worked for American political system for a very long time. Thus, this American political system has been corrupted in any way that no one could ever imagine. Their senators, their congressmen has lobbied to get their vote in the bill, to get their influence and to get that bribe money so that they can be superior in the court.
That greed involves allegations that Abramoff's business defrauded 6 Indian tribes of more than $66 million. The tribe's treasurer says they had no idea they were being ripped off.
When they're working for
basically, I will explain about the corruption first. Corruption is when you're giving or obtaining advantages within the other rights that are illegitimate, immoral, and inconsistent. So firstly, I think that an individual should be responsible toward himself. By mean, he able to conduct and control himself to act ethically within this corrupt system. And another is an individual should be responsible within the corrupt system itself. By mean, he should not apply corruption in the business at the first place. Apart from that, I think an individual also should be responsible toward the party that involved in the situation. In this case, Abramoff has manipulated his clients, so I think Abramoff need to responsible toward his action. So I can say there might be a lot of responsibility toward an individual to act ethically within the corrupt system. So move on to the next question. How would an individual to act ethically within this context? So firstly, an individual should not receive or grant any gift from someone. Exemption only apply for the country that shows some politeness or regularly to custom. For example, in Japan, receive gift or giving gift as an appreciation and affection, but not in United Kingdom. So an individual should be more alert and cautious about this situation. Secondly, a person should not receive any secret profit from their business activity. Thirdly, an individual also should avoid any situation that might lead to conflict of interest. Last but not least, an individual should follow all the rules and regulations and the code of conduct. And lastly, I think an individual have to act ethically, especially an individual who have an authority power must use their power in the right way.
Ethics can be defined as a set of principles that contains behavioral codes to determine what is right or wrong. It also outlines the moral duty and obligation that any human being shall practice, meaning that everyone is practicing a certain culture or attitude that is seen to be ethically. Referring to the case, I believe that everyone has their own choice to be a good person. They can choose to be a good person and to act ethically, whereby before a person agrees to do a certain job, they must have known about all the circumstances that will be faced when they are doing the job. Thus, they have to avoid all kind of job that is not supporting them to act ethically, because once they agree to do a certain job, they will have to follow all the instructions given to them. Secondly, these tensional factors may affect ability of a lobbyist to act ethically, whereby they have been paid for the services or else they will not getting money from their client. A lobbyist actually is very exposed to the political world, and those in high-ranking position, they always use their money to discriminate others and to get whatever they want. Referring to the case where Abraham decided not to disclose to Tigwa the failure resulted by his effort of trying to convince Ney and his colleagues, because he doesn't want to lose the trust and confidence from their client, although the services is not being done accordingly and not fully done. To keep on sustained in the job, a lobbyist have to maintain a good relationship with their client, or else they will lose their job in a short period of time. Basically, a lobbyist have to be brave and ready to take any risks they may be faced in the future, or else they will lose their confidence and trust from their client. This is how institutional factors may affect ability of a lobbyist to act ethically. Honestly, being a lobbyist is more likely to get involved in the ethical issues because this job is very risky and it will not consider the rules and regulation while they're performing the task.
I don't think legislators ought to be able to accept anything over above a nominal amount, $25.
This is as clear as crystal that Abramoff and his co-conspirator, Michael Scanlon, were just scamming their clients' money, who put so much trust in them. Abramoff has scammed for almost $20 million from his client, May. The trip to Scotland, meals at Abramoff restaurant were just all the tactic to convince their clients to spend an amount of money so that they can use it for their personal purposes. However, Abramoff has twisted his action by saying that it's technical that he was just doing his job. Abramoff and Scanlon were trying to fool around with their clients and make them to fall into their trap, thus mock them as monkeys and morons. This is an extraordinary kind of criminal conduct and abuse, to the extent of exploitation and deceit.
A pathetic, disgusting example of greed run amok.
That greed involves
In my personal opinion, I do agree with the view that Abraham is a valuable human with a unique position that trying to help us to learn from his moral mistakes. Basically, lobbying is an activity of trying to persuade someone in an authority, as usually unelected members of the government. Thus, being involved in these types of job actually is very risky, as there are certain information that cannot be disclosed to the public, and resulted to them being suspected by the public regarding on types of job they are currently doing. Referring to the case, Abraham had involved himself as a lobbyist, meaning that there are certain information that might reveal the truth of something, but as a lobbyist, he cannot expose to the public, but have to keep it secret from the public.
Yeah.
Moreover, Abraham must have many experiences that he can use in order to reform the broken system, as he himself had been in that broken system. So, he had experienced many things that made him not to repeat the same mistakes again, and he might come up with a new agenda and planning that might be useful in order to replace the current system so that the others will not follow his steps. However, on the other side, these types of job is actually can give us the true experience on what is actually happening in the world, such as how heartless a human can be and how unfair the political can be. Lastly, I do believe that everyone deserves a second chance, and Abraham also should be given the second chance to improve himself to be a better person in the future, because actually the mistake we made in our life is one who taught us on how to improve ourselves to grow up into a better person in the future, contrast with the person who do not face any challenges and failure in their life. They will not realizing on that certain thing is actually wrong, and they will keep on repeating the same mistakes. Thus, if the person had admit his mistakes and he had promised to reform the broken system, then he should be given the chances to do so.
I was so far in it that I couldn't figure out where right and wrong was. I believed that I was among the top moral people in the business. I was totally blinded by what was going on.
Jack Abramoff. Jack
Abramoff was a whiz at influencing legislation, and one way he did that was to get his clients, like some Indian tribes, to make substantial campaign contributions to select members of Congress.
As I look back...
Okay, for this question, I personally think that those politicians who made donation toward Nation American tribes had a moral obligation because they might voluntarily donate their money to the people that might in need. But legally, it's totally wrong because the sources of money is come from illegal sources. From this case study, we know that those politicians received the money from Abramoff as a bribery. A bribery is known as one of criminal offense that might be liable and imprisonment according to criminal law. So, is there any significant difference between those politicians who made donation and those politicians that did not make donation to Nation American tribes? From my point of view, there is no difference at all because, as just what I said before, their money is come from illegal sources. Furthermore, the ends never justify the means. So, even though those politicians have kind intention to donate their money, but still the sources of their money is come from illegal sources.
This would be ultimately be up to the client to participate on negotiations on what concessions or realizations should be made to facilitate a non-competitive or complementary existence. The client base of the lobbyists may be benefited by presiding over those negotiations. However, both clients would be naive to assume that arbitrator is not incentivized to navigate the simplest path to resolution despite their interests. Thus, a separate arbitrating entity would be required to manage their interests.
Lobbying our politicians, I believe that it's a conflict of interest.
Bad apple spoils the bunch. I mean, it's never just one.
I think that
it is very important to understand about basic ethics and behavioral ethics at the workplace because in order to produce positive employees that might lead to an organizational growth. So firstly, there are several basic ethics in this case study, which is beneficence. It means duty to do good to the others. In this case study, Abramoff still gave the best effort of him in order to gain the favor of his client, just the way his action is totally wrong and forbidden. Another basic ethics that can be identified in this case study is justice by mean. We need to treat people equally and equitably regardless of their background. In this case study, we know that Abramoff have given several politicians special treatment. This should not be happen in an organization. So another basic ethics that can be found is truthfulness, by telling someone the truth to those who have right to know the truth. From this case study, we know that Abramoff has hid several information from his client that his client need to know. And there are also several behavioral ethics that can be found in this case study, which are first, take responsibility. An individual should be responsible toward his action. By me, in this case study, Abramoff have come out to make statement about his wrongdoing toward his client and also may apologize toward his client. And another behavioral ethics in this case study is uphold trust. It means that we should not break trust with the clients. From this case study, even though Abramoff have made public statement and made apology statement to the party involved, but still there are several parties that did not accept his apologizing because they did not trust him anymore. So lastly, Develop professionalism at the workplace, also known as one of the behavioral ethics. So from this case study, we know that Abramoff has called his client as moral and monkeys. So it shows unprofessionalism and bad image of Abramoff, especially he was a person that have an authority power at the time.
However, I would recommend a legal reform that will make lobbyists act ethically. The first one is to mandate transparent documentation of the lobbyist interaction with the elected officials. This is to ensure that there is no room for the lobbyists to act unethically because the authority has ready access to the required information. Thus, the interaction of the lobbyist and the client also shall be transparent, as all the documentation is legal to be accessed by the authority, provided that the information is only being used to trace any unethical issues. By implementing this, a lobbyist can avoid himself from getting involved in any illegal agreement. Secondly, make it legal for an authority to implement a writ by the government or the court that has an authority to compel the testimony by a witness or the production of evidence under a penalty of failure regarding this documentation of a lobbyist. Although this reform will be hard to be implemented as it will receive criticism and opposition from various parties involved, but I'm sure that it will bring a huge differences to these related issues. Thus, the inspection shall be made easier for the authority to be conducted in raising of any ethical issue, to find the truth and to reveal the issue. This reform will ensure a lobbyist to act ethically and to be more careful not to involve in unethical issues in the future. Lastly, to set up an independent ethics review board in order to run an inspection regarding on how a lobbyist behave and to ensure they act ethically in doing their job. And those who had convicted with an offense will be sent to the training center to receive some ethical lecture related to their job to ensure they won't repeat the same mistakes again and they will use the knowledge for good in the future after being released. As a conclusion, lobbying definitely is not an illegal job, but the transaction made while doing the job can lead to an unethical values, because sometimes as a lobbyist, they have to ignore the rules and regulations provided by the government while doing their job. However, if they can stick to the principle of ethics, they can avoid themselves from getting involved in the ethical values, although it might be resulted in circumstances that will lead them to losing their job.